Chapter 30 Medical Education Research in India, the Dialogues and the Way Forward. Bharat Chandra V. Adkali, Pale Bansal. Abstract. This chapter is an attempt to capture the ongoing dialogues in medical education research in India and identify the way forward, extracting from the key messages of various chapters of this book. The major challenges lie in identifying and prioritizing the future research needs, ensuring methodological rigor, breaking the silos within and across the profession, and forming a community of scholars in a spirit of international cooperation. We outline four major areas of dialogue: research versus scholarship, medical education research versus health professions education research, quantitative versus qualitative approaches, and internal motivation versus external assessment. We conclude that transformation of MER into health professions education research is a much needed step which requires concerted efforts, committed leadership, and a catalytic role played by national and international networks. This will ultimately lead to a research and innovation ecosystem to support nation building, effective health care, and well-being of the people. Key words: medical education, research, health professions, education, innovation ecosystem, mentoring, community of practice, networking, interprofessional education. Assess need. Thinking about the future of any human pursuit is extremely fascinating and exciting. Wisdom says that past, present, and future are a seamless continuum in the timeline. The future is built on the present, and the present is derived from the past. Medical education research in India is an area of recent interest amid the wave of changes happening in the field of medical education, prompted by the regulators. Traditionally, in India and many countries of Southeast Asia, medical education and healthcare systems have two divergent ways. This is because of multiple regulators controlling education and multiple authorities who are responsible for delivering healthcare. The Lancet Commission's report emphasized that the health professionals for 21st century must transform education to strengthen their health systems in an interdependent world. This is perhaps more relevant when the world is reeling under the COVID pandemic. It is therefore necessary that the medical colleges and health sciences universities in India should adopt a holistic approach to connect patient care, education, and research under one rubric. The theory and practice in MER have been discussed in detail throughout this book. In this concluding chapter, we restate the key messages emerging from the various chapters to give a future direction. In this process, we envisage a much broader role for MER to embrace the whole spectrum of health professions, education, research. However, this agenda is vested with four major dialogues: research versus scholarship, medical education research versus health professions education research, quantitative versus qualitative approaches, and internal motivation versus external assessment. We conclude that the future of MER depends upon a concerted and coordinated effort on part of all health professionals to break the silos, come together and reimagine our systems in line with the bigger picture of research and innovation ecosystems in India. Brief key messages emerging from the book applied to current scenario in India in the background of international developments. Ongoing dialogues. Research versus scholarship. Need to support all types of scholarship. Teaching, research, application, and integration, the identity dialogue. MER versus HPER, professional versus interprofessional. Specialization versus integration, the scope dialogue. Quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods research, theory versus practice, the methodology dialogue. Internal motivation versus external assessment, the accreditation dialogue. Role of international networks and organizations. Contextualize. The health sector in India is presently grappling with the task of achieving universal health care. Towards this end, The strengths of all systems of medicine currently being practiced are being explored. Besides, the COVID-19 pandemic has posed additional challenges in terms of healthcare delivery. Medical education research in this context must address the projected needs of the country, its policy aspirations, and the goals to achieve universal health and well-being of the people. The National Medical Commission, which replaced the MCI in 2019, has initiated reforms such as strengthening infrastructure, opening more medical colleges, especially in remote areas, increasing student intake and optimizing utilization of National Board of Examination system to expand postgraduate training. The competency-based MBBS curriculum introduced from 2019 onwards with a large-scale national faculty development programs has met with challenges posed by the COVID pandemic, forcing the medical colleges to resort to online teaching, whose quality and effectiveness is yet to be established. The 3,000-year-old Indian system of medicine with a holistic approach to health and well-being has now changed into a modernized approach with a structured fixed curriculum. Moreover, the curricula of these plural systems of medicine and allied health sciences education are controlled by multiple regulators which work in silos. The national education policy has come out with a bigger picture of research and innovation ecosystem in a knowledge society. Reflect for a minute. What should be the focus and direction of research related to education of health professionals? Is this situation a cause of concern or a window of opportunities for promoting health professions education research? Describe recapitulation of the key messages. 1. Medical education research has benefited from theories derived from educational research, which traditionally use quantitative and qualitative approaches to tackle problems and issues in medical education. This field has grown significantly across the globe during the last 70 years and deserves to be recognized as an independent field of health professions education scholarship, satisfying all the four scholarship criteria identified by Boyer: teaching, discovery, application, and integration. However, the geographic distribution of contributions in this field is highly skewed, with most contributions coming from USA, UK, Canada, Netherlands, and Australia, in contrast with Asia, Africa, and South America. Of late, contributions have started emerging from the non-Western countries, including India. 3. MEUINDIA in India is still at a nascent stage due to various reasons. The obstacles include time constraint due to heavy clinical workload, lack of motivation, lack of systematic training in research methodology, absence of collaborative work or community of scholars, lack of support from governance, shortage of suitable forums to showcase the work done, and lack of weightage given to MEUINDIA and scholarship of teaching and learning for promotion. So, the authors have suggested several measures for improvement, such as focusing on relevant and useful problems, using theory-driven approach, robust methodologies, aligning the research question with appropriate methodology, and effective use of mixed methods and action research. 5. The quality of MEUINDIA relies heavily on formulating a focused research question, following ethical norms as applicable for education research, using appropriate method or study design, ability to appraise published literature, adopting a systematic approach to the collection and analysis of data, all culminating into a scholarly publication. Dialogues that will shape up MEUINDIA in future. The future of MEUINDIA in India depends upon several ongoing dialogues. We will discuss 4 of them and argue that we need a balancing act. The dialogue between research versus scholarship. The dialogue between profession-based approach versus interprofessional approach. The dialogue between the quantitative and qualitative paradigms. The dialogue between internal and external motivators. Figure 1. Dialogues in Medical Education Research, Indian Perspective. research versus scholarship, medical versus health science, AYUSH CAM, qualitative versus mixed methods, external regulation versus institutional autonomy, scope dialogue, identity dialogue, methodology dialogue, accreditation dialogue, research versus scholarship, the identity issue. Conventionally, research has played much guarded role in generating new knowledge or applying the same to the benefit of society. However, in health profession education, there has been a dichotomy between education and research. Similarly, service or patient care has been isolated from research. Health profession is a unique case where research for the sake of research becomes defunct. Research becomes an instrument to enhance quality of health care on the one hand and quality of education on the other. This can happen if MER is seen as an instrument of scholarship rather than a means for churning out research publications. Teaching, research, and patient care are the trinity of missions of all healthcare professions. There is a dire need to connect them together. Educational research can bridge education with clinical care. The National Education Policy adopted by Government of India addresses the content and the scope of education at all levels. It seeks to dissolve disciplinary boundaries, foster research and innovation ecosystems to generate intellectual property rights so as to drive the economy in a knowledge society. This implies that medical education, along with its partners in health professions education, should aim at improving health outcomes and for this purpose promote innovation and research. We therefore see a reason for restating the original four types of scholarship described by Ernst Boyer. The statement of Boyer's concept, we need to promote research in such a way that all our teaching and assessment becomes more evidence-based, keeping an eye on their utility and impact on healthcare delivery, which can be enhanced by making connections among several disciplines and professions. The scholarship of integration, which generally means making connections among different fields, can also be interpreted as a means of integrating education with patient care. As an example, Sabadikari at LEI have described how the student assessment system can be combined effectively with patient-centered approach in bringing about scholarship of integration. We can expect more scholarship of integration in the times to come. However, this leads to the second issue, the future scope of MER. Be the dialogue between profession-based approach versus interprofessional approach. Knowledge explosion is the inherent character of a knowledge society propelled by digital technologies, resulting in specialization and super-specialization publications. Specialization gives identity, authenticity, and status to the profession. However, the side effect of specialization is creation of silos. The question arises, do the research protocols applicable for medical education hold good for other health professions? We need to develop and test theories to address this issue. Even within medical education, an intervention proven effective in one discipline may or may not work in the same manner in another discipline. For example, simulation pedagogy in physiology may not be equally effective in another clinical specialty. This brings us to the future need for working towards discipline-based educational research, which is already felt in science and engineering. Some of the upcoming developments in MER across the globe are competency-based medical education, simulation, online and virtual learning, methods and criteria for selection as well as assessment and international standards and certification. In the Indian context, we need to focus on assessment issues, both formative and summative, skill building, health team concept and leadership skills to prepare Indian medical graduates for working in health teams in diverse settings, faculty development, and assessment as instruments for capacity building have been emphasized by the key regulators. Though CBME has been rolled out, the nuances of formative assessment, internal assessment, and summative assessment are not yet clear. Program evaluation, development of attitudes, ethics, and communication are other areas of interest and concern. Moreover, a sound knowledge base has been created in assessment. It is time to take a relook at the revised MBBS curriculum with robust research evidence. While the MEUINDIA gets a strong foothold within the profession, the need for it to go into professional is equally warranted. Future changes will be influenced by demographic and epidemiological shifts besides disruptive technologies. While a host of high-end diagnostics, imaging techniques, robotics, molecular biology, and genomics have already impacted medical science, other technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine language, big data analytics, holomedicine, etc. will have to be applied to MEUINDIA to bring into professional focus. The COVID-19 pandemic has further exposed the flaws in the medical care and its lack of preparedness to deal with psychosocial, economic, and cultural issues which at times matter more than biomedical aspects of the disease. We need to balance high tech with high touch, technical skills with soft skills. MEUINDIA should therefore make connection with medical humanities, sociology, behavioral sciences, and management. This requires evidence-based approach to be followed by all regulators in a concerted manner. Thanks to the realization that health care is a holistic concept, integrative medicine needs to be brought into the fold of research and innovation to address the wider issue of health and well-being of the people. See the dialogue between the quantitative and qualitative paradigms. Theory versus practice. It is now widely acknowledged that conventional designs, viz., experiments, surveys, and testing are not sufficient to answer several of the research questions in the field of health professions education. Exploratory methods such as in-depth interviews, focus group discussions, phenomenology, and grounded theories are gradually entering mainstream. Authors in this book have vociferously expressed that the choice of methodology depends upon the research question asked by the researcher. They can be exploratory, descriptive, evaluative, prescriptive, or predictive. Table 1. Type of studies and examples. Issues leading to research questions in the future. Type of studies. Exploratory. Likely questions to be asked. Can simulation technology be used effectively to address the problems of slow learners? Descriptive. What are the best practices in blended learning across health science universities across the world? Evaluative. What is the impact of innovative courses started by health science universities on skill enhancement or boosting IPR activities? Prescriptive. What strategies can be adopted for introducing effective peer mentoring programs? Predictive. To what extent the performance in NEET and EXT exam predicts the outcomes of IMGs? Authors have discussed the role of quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods in answering research questions based on evidence. The authors have commented on the need for researchers to focus on why and how an intervention rather than addressing what was done until it worked, which is a convenient approach. They have suggested that MEUINDIA should build on theories supported by extensive review of literature. They have also noted that integration of several disciplines like health economics, humanities, sociology, ecology, ethnography, and ethics can be helpful in advancing knowledge in healthcare. While we endorse their views, we also feel that future research should explore from theory to practice and practice to theory. This is necessary in view of the urgency of implementation, e.g., CBME with the power of grounded theories in generating new hypotheses for boosting innovations and IPR, and C potential of integrative medicine, yoga complementary, and alternative medicine which are time-tested. Thus, theory and practice become a moving cycle for development. A mixed methods approach can be seen as bridge. It has been cited as a powerful method for enriching public health research and also holds good for boosting action research. When the methodologies of research change, the way it is taught and learned will obviously undergo change. The research training is likely to happen following a project-based collaborative approach. It will be supported by diverse professionals, clinicians, biomedical scientists, its specialists, behavioral and social scientists who will work with scholars across the health professions. We can expect, therefore, new communities of learning and practice in research. These dialogue between autonomy versus external regulation, internal versus external motivation. The motivation for research is the ultimate determinant that includes individual factors and external factors to support scholarship. The issue of internal motivation versus external is also linked with policies adopted by the agencies and authorities. The classical top-down and bottom-up approach have their own strengths and weaknesses. Drawing lessons from the bold initiative taken by the Government of India to reorganize NMC and launch a revised MBBS curriculum, we can infer that centrally directed approach works, but at the cost of resistance to change caused by lack of preparedness. Initiatives from grassroots level are slower to come but easier to implement, taking into consideration the complexities of the systems prevalent in India with central government versus state governments, government versus private, medical versus other health sciences regulators, etc. We propose that research initiatives should be supported both top-down and bottom-up. This requires a close dialogue and communication, dialogue and synergy between policy makers and implementers. Assessment of scholarship. The need to assess educational scholarship and the justification for assessing all types of scholarship has been echoed by several scholars, and some of them have also discussed the criteria. The issues are complicated by lack of policy and clarity about different types of scholarship activities, dearth of authentic tools, and shift in the job portfolio from mother discipline to other responsibilities such as teaching to research, administration, etc. We propose that the academic leaders should collectively address this issue by developing a comprehensive credit system based on evidence. The e-portfolio can be used as an effective tool for self-reflection as well as for deciding the career appraisal for the purpose of promotion when combined with multi-source feedback. This requires extensive dialogue among academic leaders, followed by pilot studies and multi-centric trials to be initiated by the academic community. A suggestive list of matrices for defining the outcome measures for different types of scholarship in a graded manner is shown in Table 2. Table 2 suggested outcome measures which can be used for deciding credit points for different levels of scholarship activities. Teaching and learning. 1. Develops and shares innovative teaching practices, educational resources, presents posters. Research completes a project and prepares a report. Application dabbles with innovations, diagnosis, treatment, cost-effective procedures. Integration listens, observes the developments happening in other fields. 2. Develops and shares instructional resources with other institutes. Writes a paper short communication and gradually original article. Developer of SOPs, clinical guidelines, best practices, and shares with other institutes. Develops habit of systems thinking, its effectiveness and efficiency. 3. Shares or models in education workshops, conferences. Makes poster podium presentation in a conference, engages in peer review activity. Converts innovations into IPR. Interacts, communicates with other health professions, and initiates projects and practices. 4. Resource person, guest lecturer, conducts systematic review, meta-analysis, writes for successful grant, establishes a network of innovators, brings large grants, actively becomes a partner in IPE, demonstrates successful interprofessional research outcomes. 5. publishes papers in peer-reviewed journals, publishes papers in high-impact journal, editor, lead author, engages in capacity building for IPR activities, extends the scope of interprofessional work. 6. Serves as mentor, assessor, member curriculum committee or MEU, research collaborator in multi-centric studies, builds bridge between academia and industry, breaks the silos and facilitates integrated systems of health medicine. 7. Advanced course or fellowship, national, international. Lead researcher engages in research network, demonstrates successful large-scale innovations, champions and disseminates interprofessional approach. 8. Policy maker consultant for SOTL at national level. Policy maker consultant for research. Policy maker for innovation ecosystem. Policy maker for integrated approach to research and development. Note, the outcome of each matrix should be monitored by the mentor based on e-portfolio maintained by the faculty. This can complement the career appraiser combined with multi-source feedback. Role of national and international academic communities. In a competitive yet interdependent world, a better future can be found only by a spirit of collegiality and collaboration. It is time for the leaders to introspect and think in what ways they can contribute to the collective good of HPR. With more dialogues, we can better understand each other and bridge the knowledge and communication gap. The Academy of Health Profession Educators, various networks, professional specialty associations, premier medical institutes, centers of HPE located in health science universities should take up interprofessional initiatives by means of organizing conferences, FDPs sponsoring research studies, and creating forums for publication of books, journals, newsletters, blog posts, including social media channels to nurture communities of practice. International organizations like Framework Serum, WFME, AMI are already engaged in supporting scholars directly or indirectly. AME undoubtedly positions itself as the largest association with plethora of activities for promoting scholarship. We also need to optimize the flow of expertise from Western to non-Western countries and vice versa, leading to a win-win situation. Weiss and Ali have suggested possible areas of collaboration with sharing of resources and expertise in research, computing data analysis, and specialized simulation equipment. However, they have cautioned that all partners should have equal intellectual contributions. Larkin and Ali have described the core concepts involved in successful collaboration with focus on shared goals, valuing the culture, equity in sharing, mutual benefit, transparent communication, effective leadership, and amicable conflict resolution strategies. It will be interesting to explore why certain innovations work well in certain cultures. The future lies, therefore, in collective bargain rather than individual aspirations. Summarize: exploring future pathway for medical education research is a daunting task because of the complexities of the system and the different regulators working in silos. The new vision of India to promote a research and innovation ecosystem demands concerted action by all health professions. The priorities of future research will be based on local and regional needs driven by accessible technologies in an interdisciplinary and interprofessional environment. Methodologies should be aligned accordingly. We recommend a balancing act of central leadership connecting with local initiatives supported by autonomy and self-accountability to develop an accreditation culture based on trust. The e-portfolio that documents educator competencies and related scholarship to be maintained by all faculty. Establishment of community of practice with multi-source feedback will bring synergy into the system. The national and international networks are expected to play a key role in advancing scholarship in the broad-based field of health professions, education, research. Evaluate. In this chapter, we have thrown suggestions and reforms which are radical and fundamental. Reflect on those issues such as feasibility of giving more autonomy, logistics of introducing credit system, and the feasibility of interprofessional approach to research in a conventional setup. What potential obstacles can you anticipate in implementing these reforms and how do you get prepared for the change?